In sports, why settle? Because if you're going into a sport, you want to win. You want to be the best, like no one ever was. And if you're going in to just be mediocre, then, well, where's your head at? Because it's not about the taking part, it is most definitely about the winning. Imagine if Usain Bolt, Wayne Gretzky, Lionel Messi, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods and Ayrton Senna all lost out and went, well, I'm just happy to be here, we're all friends here and I won't lose sleep over it. No, they'd throw limbs and they'll have a sulk, because when you're a serial winner, that's all that matters. No need to be a nice guy, you're ruthless, you're an arsehole. That's why those people are so successful. No nice guy ever became the greatest of all time. Unless you're Jim Clark, obviously. But now, after the Daytona 24, Roger Penske has decided he wants the ultimate prize in endurance racing. He's not content with his first Daytona win in 55 years. He wants the big one. He wants the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Yep, spoilers. Porsche Penske won at Daytona over the weekend, and it means that Porsche now has 19 wins at the historic endurance race that, along with the Monte Carlo Rally, is everybody's sort of, well, I don't know, official, if you want to call it that, start of the season. Yes, there's the Dakar as well, but Monte Carlo and Daytona, that's how you know the season started. Porsche's first win at Daytona was back in 1968, when the team of 5 drivers in Vic Elford, Jochen Neerspach, Rolf Stommelen, Joe Siffert and Hans Hermann took victory in the 907 LH. Over the 24 hours they covered 2,564 miles, or 4,127 kilometres, rounded, which is the equivalent of driving from London to Deer Lake on the island of Newfoundland in Canada. The following year, though, was Penske's turn, a whopping 55 years ago, as his Sunoco Lola T70 won the race, covering around 200 miles less as Chuck Parsons and Mark Donoghue took the victory there. Then, 2 more Porsche wins in 1970 and 1971 as JW Engineering's 917K won. In 1972, the race was shortened to a 6-hour race, presumably to do with the oil crisis that was going on, but it was back as a 24 in 1973. Porsche would win this too, with the Carrera RSR, which would win back-to-back in 1973 and 1975. Now you might be thinking, 73 and 75? You mean 74, right? Nope. There was no race in 1973 because of the energy crisis that was kicked off by the Arab countries not selling oil to anybody that supported Israel in the Arab-Israeli conflict. This is facts. Porsche and Daytona would combine like bangers and mash in the 1970s and 80s, pretty much utter domination as a Porsche won every year in some description between 1977 and 1987, the only outlier there being a March 83G that won in 1984, but it was powered by a Porsche engine. It's a bit like how Porsche would similarly dominate Le Mans as well in the early 1980s, the Nobody's Perfect advertisement, if you've seen that, where it lists the top 10 from Le Mans in 1983 or whenever it was, and 9 of those top 10 were Porsche 956s. Porsche's dominance died off around the late 80s, particularly as Group C started to die off and IMSA, the FIA and ACO started going ham to try and replace such a beloved series that had been killed off through escalating costs and the fiddling with the engine rules. The last Porsche win can either be in 2003 when a 911 GT3 RS won, or in 2010 when a Riley Mark 11 powered by a Porsche won overall. So 21 years after the last completely Porsche win at Daytona, the 963 takes the honours, as Dan Cameron, Matt Campbell, Felipe Nasr and Joseph Newgarden took the win, even if it was about 2.5 minutes too soon. Someone will probably be fired for that. So then Penske turns his attention to Le Mans. I've checked through his racing history and his racing accolades, and it looks like Le Mans is the last thing for him to conquer. No, it really is. Scrolling through the list of winners of the historic 24-hour race, Roger Penske's name isn't on there, but Porsche's is, and it's on there more times than I can count. I did music at school, I only need to count to 4. It actually levels out quite nicely. Porsche has 19 wins at Le Mans, and now with Penske's victory yesterday, 19 out at Daytona. Now, sorry for a little bit of a deviation here, but that Daytona USA song, it's a driving rock song, right? But it's in 3/4. So it's 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, not the traditional 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. I thought I'd mention it while I'm here. If you're a musician, go and listen to it. See if it messes you about like it does me. Anyway, back to the video. And Penske will be looking to conquer all of motorsport while he still can. This guy is 86 years old and still going. He's won in endurance racing, Can-Am, Formula 1, IndyCar. He won the Indy 500 last year and about 20 other times. He's won the Bathurst 1000. He's won V8 Supercars. He's won in NASCAR, including the Daytona 500, which his team last won in 2022 with Austrian Cindric. The last thing to do now is win at Le Mans. And the thing is, they probably can do it. If not this year, but certainly next year. On one hand, you've got Roger Penske, arguably one of the most decorated men in motorsport history, and on the other side, you've got Porsche. As already mentioned, during the Group C era, having a Porsche 956 was basically a cheat code. The Nobody's Perfect advertisement is as iconic as the car because for Porsche, it was basically cementing themselves as the gods of endurance racing. And when it comes to enduros, and particularly at Le Mans, having a competitive Porsche is good for business. When Porsche announced their return for the 2014 24-hour race with the 919, which I would happily sell my family to have a go in, I'm open to offers Porsche, the crowds at Le Mans were the largest they'd been in years. It's the same way that keeping Ferrari quiet in F1 is good for business. Ferrari is F1's attraction. Porsche is the brand you want at Le Mans. When you're the most successful manufacturer, there's that, well, certain expectation. Penske wants to win just as much as Porsche does, and nothing else will really do. That period between 98 or so and 2015 only really had other manufacturers winning simply because, well, Porsche wasn't there. When Porsche is at Le Mans and at the top level and invested, they tend to win. Now, Porsche didn't dominate Le Mans as hard in that period as it would initially seem. Yes, they won it 3 years in a row, but 2015 was the only year you could say they dominated. The Audis did have issues though, so it's how you define it. In 2016, they got a stroke of luck when the Toyota broke down right at the end, and in 2017, an LMP2 owned by Jackie Chan almost won outright. They will also probably want to get a little bit of payback after Ferrari won the race last year, the 100th anniversary edition as well, even if it wasn't the 100th running. Although there was the whole BOP thing and the conspiracy that the BOP was rigged to help Ferrari win the race, because Ferrari winning the 100th anniversary would have been better, probably. Last year, Porsche was 7th and 8th at Le Mans after having issues, but in 2014 they had issues then and they weren't properly competitive, or at least as competitive as they would have wanted to be. The following year they came back and it was, well, a pretty good showing, so maybe history can repeat itself. And actually, Penske and Porsche have admitted that the car isn't quite there yet. The question is, can they overhaul Toyota and Ferrari, who will no doubt be improving their cars into this season as well? Remember the Nissan Longboy? The rest of the grid won't wait around for you to catch up. It should also be pointed out that Porsche's win at Daytona was not easy either. It took a brilliantly timed and executed pit stop and some luck with a safety car period. This safety car period wiped out the advantage that Cadillac had after Tom Blomqvist overtook Nasser on track into turn 1, with about an hour and a half left on the clock. The final time between the Porsche and the Cadillac when the flag dropped, albeit 2 minutes early, was about 2 seconds or so. Good old BOP, I guess. Yes, it makes things look competitive for television and it helps guarantee manufacturer involvement, but the purists, good God, they hate it. However, reliability seems to be going in Porsche's favour this season. Last year at Daytona, one of the Porsches lost 35 laps with an iffy battery and the other retired with gearbox trouble. It did win 3 races last season at Long Beach, Road America and Indianapolis, but at Watkins Glen, Nasser lost 2 hours repairing the hybrid system. So it isn't a stretch to think that Porsche and Penske can achieve the top prize at Le Mans and in turn allow Penske to effectively complete motorsport. But with BOP being what it is, it's probably something you'd need to err on the side of caution about. If you're too dominant, you'll be reeled in. If you sandbag, you'll be hit even harder. But you wouldn't put it past Penske to try and gain that unfair advantage he's been after for so long. But as mentioned before, Porsche in Le Mans is good for business, same way that Ferrari in Formula 1 is good for business. Have a competitive Ferrari and Porsche at Le Mans, you've got the existing endurance fans happy, and you've got the Formula 1 fans being pulled over to watch Ferrari happy as well. They can do some stuff with this. But as Penske said after the race yesterday when he won in 1969, the gap between the winner and the rest of the field could be multiple laps, even tens of laps. In 1970, Porsche won from, well, Porsche by 45 laps. In 2024, the gap was seconds. So it's not good enough to have a lightning fast car. There's a certain cleverness that you have to have. Now, I'm not saying for a second that the ACO is going to rig Le Mans to ensure it gets the winner it wants. While Ferrari winning last year did seem convenient, especially since they said, oh, no, we're not doing any balance, and then hitting Toyota with a massive weight penalty like the day before or whatever it was. Well, I mean, all the cars got hit with a weight penalty except for Peugeot, but Peugeot were cack. What I am saying is that with now potentially 3 competitive teams and manufacturers this year, the ACO will want to at least attempt to balance things so it's competitive and gets people through the gates. With the Porsche surviving Daytona this year and showing that it's way more reliable than it was last year, the possibility of another outright win is there. But the top bods at the endurance racing side of things have noticed what they've got, and endurance racing is probably the most popular it's been in a good 10 years or so, since the Porsche versus Audi fights at Le Mans and in the WEC. And Penske no doubt knows this as well. If he wins Le Mans this year or next year and beats Toyota and Ferrari, Porsche fans will be ecstatic, and there'll be that national pride for American racing as well. Because what could be better than the American team coming over and beating the Europeans on terms set by them? What the fuck is a kilometre? Toyota versus Ferrari versus Porsche. A 3-way fight for Le Mans this year would be very mouth-watering. So then, a look at where the Penske and Porsche could complete motorsport this year at Le Mans. If this thing has made you think things about the thing, then like this thing so I know I've done a good job. And for more things from this channel, subscribe and get the bell notification thing on so you never miss out on anything that I do around here. Massive thanks as ever to the kind folk at Patreon for the continued support, and if you want to help out at a more personal level, like the fine bunch of lads on your screen, a link is in the description along with links to Discord, socials and my affiliates. Or the super thanks and memberships if that floats your boat. So until next time, I've been AdmiralLaWind, have a great day wherever you are, and goodbye.